Welcome to Should Bought That. Today we speak to buyer's agent Chris Guesty for the third time, which is great. We talk about the value of having a buyer's agent and the type of properties they can source for you. Let's get into it. Guesty, welcome to Should Have Bought That.
Thanks for having me again.
That's okay. Thanks for coming. Mate, how's things? What do you see in the market at the moment?
Obviously, June, July in the property market's reasonably quiet. A lot of people go away, Europe or through Asia. So we're back into it a couple of weeks now. And
Lovely.
it's been a little bit quiet of late. But I think clearance rates are heading around that sort of mid-70s
Yep.
at the moment, which is probably normal for this time of year. They'll increase as we get closer to the spring market. But there's still a few things happening and there's some buyers out there.
A bit more stock coming on.
I
heading
believe
into
so.
spring?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, the agents I'm speaking to sort of listing for sort of October, November. So I think the spring's going to be pretty good.
Brilliant. Now, Guesty, you wanted to touch on a key topic today, and it was, are buyer's agents just for the wealthy?
Sure, great question, and I get this all the time. So
Yep.
looking forward to having a chat
Bit
to
of
you
a
about
myth.
this. I think it definitely is a myth. I think there's buyers at all different levels, and I certainly have a cross-section of buyers at the moment, from your first home buyer up to your professional couple, and then obviously the family home buyers who are looking to upsize their family home. So it's not only for the top end of the clients, but there's also a lot to do with your first home buyers and your
Yeah.
professional couples, because at every different level, the client needs a different bit of service. So that's sort of where we see our advantage.
Why would the first home buyer approach you to purchase a property?
Yeah, look, it's a conversation we probably have with the client and probably parents as well a lot of the time. The bank of mum and dad these days are helping kids purchase real estate. So
It's a reality.
absolutely,
Yep.
we have those early conversations and we have coffees and we talk about they don't know the property market that well. So it's where our expertise come in, and speaking to agents and our relationships with agents that we have can help those first home buyers navigate buying a property. And then the strategy around buying it, whether it's an auction or private sale or expressions of interest. A first home buyer would probably get a bit nervous on auction day and not really know what to do, and the parents might want to take a step back. So that's sort of where we come in and we help with around a strategy and knowing the agents and probably knowing where it's going to land on price is
Yep.
going to help those first home buyers.
Puts them at ease.
It does, absolutely. A lot of people don't like the auction process and standing out there and putting their hand up and those sort of things. They get a bit nervous, whereas I'll treat it like a business. It's a transaction for me, and the emotion's not there for me. So a lot of the buyers will sort of fall into that emotional trap and quite often spend a bit too much money to buy
I've
it.
spoken about that one
We
in
have,
the past,
absolutely.
which is always interesting. But you look at Netflix and those type of streaming services, and there's the shows over in LA where they're buying, buyers agents are buying $20 million properties. That's not the case. You obviously got examples where it's first home buyers coming to you to purchase their first home, so it's not just a wealthy avenue.
Absolutely.
Do you have a recent example around first home buyers?
Yeah,
that you've
yeah.
seen?
I bought a property for a client probably about 2 months ago.
Yep.
They'd been looking for themselves probably for 3 or 4 months. They were sick of it. Came to me and said, "Oh, look, can you help us out?" I probably went through 10 to 15 properties with them. We missed out on a couple. I said, at that time, you'd go through a property on a Saturday and there'd be an offer on it, the following Thursday. So I said to them, we've seen a few, we've missed a couple. Once we find one, we've got to act on it pretty quickly. So saw one in Glen Iris. I said, this is the property you need to buy. And within a week, we'd exchange contracts, and they're really, really happy.
That's brilliant.
And the property went for sale across the road from where they bought, and it was probably $30,000 or $40,000 more than what they spent. So
they bought well?
They bought really well, and they're really happy.
Brilliant. And what sort of, if you don't mind me asking, what sort of price range are we looking
That
at?
was just below 600.
Okay.
that was
so
a two
first home
bedroom.
buyer range,
Yeah, absolutely.
getting into the market, utilising buyer's agent, not just for your $5 million homes in
Yeah.
Armadale or Toorak.
No, actually, and as I said, I think each different level of client needs a different service. Your first home buyer needs that, helping hand, going through them, understanding the market, whereas your substantial family home buyer will need a bit of understanding of the market in terms of what's coming on and off markets.
Yeah. How do you manage the influence of the parents? I dare say you'd see some parents would be quite involved and sort of overshadowing what you possibly trying to achieve. How do you manage that?
They are. It's I think you set that tone at the very start. Is I'm the professional. I do it every day. I go through properties every day. I understand the market. They've got their child's interests at heart, obviously, and my job is to buy them the best property at the best price. for them to be happy and to buy in a good area.
Yep.
So that's sort of, you sort of
It's
reiterate those
location
things.
first.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ideally.
It's location, amenities, and what the property offers.
Yep. Everyone's got access to property data and what properties are valued at, and there's AI now, so there's a lot of accessible information. But you obviously have that connection with agents to be able to achieve a better result, whether that be know the price that you need to go in at, etc. How important is that for a first-time buyer in that competitive range?
I think it's really important because they're entrusting me to find them the right property, and the relationships we have with the agents. I'll get more information out of the agent than a general buyer would walking through. I will often know before an auction, how many bidders they're going to be, if there's another advocate I'm bidding against, where I need to be on price.
Yeah.
So then I can form that strategy for the buyer to perform on the day to hopefully buy the property and have enough money to buy that. So that's sort of how we go about the strategy in terms of buying.
Not only are you paying for that service too, but also the ability to purchase well, ideally at a good price. But then also it's that reassurance that they've bought well too. So if you solo buy and your first time buy, you don't really know. You may, in your best interest, hope that that's the right purchase. But
Absolutely.
having that reinforcement for a buyer's agent is also underrated.
Absolutely, and I think I always stress to my clients that there's a level we go to, and I act on their instructions, and I think it's important to stick to that level. Sometimes they go over depending on the strategy and the auction process and what's happening on the day, but generally they will often stick to their price, and I think that's really important too, not to get emotionally attached and spend too much.
Take it away from first-time buyers just for a second. That sort of next level up, might be a mum and dad investor or something like that. How does that conversation change?
Yeah, and I guess, and also a professional couple.
Yep.
A professional couple will change. I've got an investor at the moment living in Hong Kong, so that strategy is a lot different to your professional couple, where they're coming in a different level. It's probably that 1.5 to 2 range for that professional couple. So those conversations are different to an investor.
Yep.
An investor is all about location, capital growth, and buying in a good area for future. And then obviously the professional couple is often quite based around where they work, where their friends are, amenities, parks, location to transport and those sort of things.
Yeah, if you've got sort of 2 or 3 properties they're looking at, in your search, how many of those do you take them through? Like, do you have a limit of how many properties you'll take a couple through, or you literally only go through it and go, I recommend you buy this?
I like to go through the properties first,
Yep.
based on their criteria.
Yep.
I'll look at the property first, take videos, floor plan, I'll take photos, send them on a WhatsApp group, and then suggest that, we should come and have a look at this.
Yep.
Or this is not quite right because of X, Y, and Z. But I always say, look, they can go through for themselves to have a look, but they're entrusting me to find the property. So I'll go through first and evaluate what I think's good about the property or what might be a little bit of a red flag. And then we take that from there. So
Yeah, brilliant.
that's sort of how we go about it.
Yep. And I know we're obviously talking about, buyer's agents not just being for the wealthy, but obviously there are wealthy clients that come along. How is that transaction different to...
Yeah, it's a lot different. They're obviously a bit more savvy in the marketplace, and they've bought homes before, and they might have some investment properties. So with those particular clients, it's more the value that I bring with off-market opportunities, and then the relationships again with agents, and trying to get them through the bigger houses that no one else can get through. And we're first to get through those properties, so that we can negotiate on their behalf. So we're giving back a lot of information to them, but it's what we can show them, as opposed to generally looking on what's on the market. It's more the off-market side of things.
Some areas that you're seeing quite a bit of demand in your sort of area as well, within that little subset of inner East Melbourne. Any areas that you're seeing a bit of demand that are sought after?
That first home buyer is a very competitive area.
Yep.
And that next level up, sort of
Yep.
like that sub 2. I think in terms of an area, I always, 8 to 10 k's from the city is probably where
Yep.
people start.
So you're looking like Glen Iris and
Glen Iris,
Malvern,
Armidale, Camberwell, Hawthorn East, those typical areas. Everyone sort of starts there and then they move out. Once they miss a few, or they think that they need a bit more land or a bigger property and those sort of things. But generally, they're the areas to buy in. Specifically with, all the transport and the new train stations coming in at the moment, and access into the city is really important for everyone.
do you get access to that kind of information of like when new amenities are going to be introduced to a certain area? Like, do you get that ahead of the general
No,
public?
no, it's just the
really?
general public that
Yep.
we get on, but we sort of read into it and we understand it a bit more than probably the general person does, because that's a lot of information that we need, in and around those high density living areas of, Hawthorn, Camberwell, Malvern, around the train stations and what's happening these days. It's really important for us to know, for our clients' value as well.
Brilliant. Your general thought on the market in Melbourne heading into spring?
I think it's going to be a good spring. I think there's going to be a lot more property on the market, a lot more options. If you need to sell, it's a good time. There's not a lot of great stock on the market at the moment, so buyers are still sort of holding back and I think waiting for spring. But
So
I
they'll
think
literally all launch it on.
I think
in
so.
spring.
There's a lot of off-market opportunities right now, which if they don't sell in the next sort of 6 weeks, we'll see them come to market in spring, and there'll be campaigns for spring.
Yep. Brilliant. So in those areas, Guesty, if I'm a first home buyer, got 800 grand, am I going to get a 1-bedroom apartment in Glen Iris, 2-bedroom? Can I sneak that in?
Yeah, you're probably going to get a 2, potentially 3-bedroom
Okay.
apartment.
Yep.
It might be a 2-bedroom and a study. And then obviously $1 million, you're looking probably at a villa unit, where there might be 2 or 3 on the block.
Okay. And if I'm looking for a house and I need to push out a bit further, what sort of areas are they going to?
Yeah,
So
sort
you're
of
seeing across your
Surrey
network?
Hills and Canterbury and those sort of areas. You get
Okay.
get a bit more bang for your buck in terms of a little bit bigger land size. Might be an extra room as well in terms of the house lot. So it's, as you get further out, slightly bigger blocks and a bit more accommodation.
Okay, awesome. These satellite cities that Melbourne are saying they're going to create, these hubs and etc. Do you think they'll have much demand on property prices, or people navigate to those sort of areas, or do you think still being close to the city is going to,
Everyone traditionally wants to be in that close to that city, but if they're building hubs and sort of, I guess, satellite cities, as you say, people won't really need to go as far. And it'll be, it'll be hubs within hubs.
And they just won't leave. Like Brighton. People don't leave Brighton.
No,
Like,
if you're down the coast, that's where you stay. So I think that'll probably be the trend. But it'll be interesting to see sort of how that transpires in terms of house prices and those things as well.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. It's like that urban sprawl
Yeah.
they talk about too. But it's very true. Like if you're down the peninsula, you're not really coming in that often. Especially with the area you're looking in, Guesty, it's quite attractive and it's close to the city and it's a great area. If people are looking to purchase, what do they generally compromise on? Obviously, every scenario is a little bit different, but
they might start out looking for a 3-bedroom house that we go and we miss a few, and then they sort of peg it back and go, okay, well, I can afford a 2-bedroom house to get into that area, and that's where I want to be. So it's probably that type of scenario where they miss a few in terms of what they really want, but then they peg it back and say, okay, it's not our dream home, it's not our forever house. Let's get into the market and let's concentrate on buying something that we can live in now for the next 4 or 5 years, and then upgrade.
Change strategy a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. So they just change strategy. They get in the market. It mightn't be their forever home, but it'll be something that they can enjoy for 5 to 6 years, and then take that next step from there. And they can leverage the equity in what they buy to buy the next one.
yeah. So it's a change of strategy. Do you preempt that coming up? Like, do they have to learn that themselves, or do you try and educate them and say, look, I think you're too high for what you're looking for?
Well, it's education piece as
Yeah.
well, and
Yeah.
you go to auctions, you stand with them, and you might miss a few, obviously, and then you go, okay, let's re-strategize what you really want, and we might have to move areas as well.
Yep.
I know you might want Hawthorn, Camberwell, Glen Iris, Armidale, but it might be Ashburton where you need to look at, and instead of 3 bedrooms, it's 2 bedrooms. So it's different strategies for different clients, but I guess that's the advantage of what we bring to in terms of the knowledge and understanding of each client, and at each different level, there's different things we can do for them.
Yep. If you're an investor in that sort of inner east, inner southeast,
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong
Yeah.
in terms of where we are. It's 8 to 10 Ks in the city, as I said before, and those motivations of having a property that's going to grow in value. It's more a house than an apartment.
so you're definitely big on trying to get that house rather than.
I think so.
apartment if
Yeah,
they can.
dirt's always going to go up in value. There's not much dirt around anymore, and that's where the value is.
You got a first home buyer client. They're looking at a 2-bedroom apartment in Glen Iris. They love. What are you looking for when you head into that property?
I'm looking for natural light. I'm looking for space in the living and dining room area.
Yep.
And the specific floor plan and how that flows.
Okay. How important is a floor plan?
Yeah, so obviously floor plan is critical. I think when purchasing a property, you want to feel that sense of space and walking into a home that creates that space and warm environment, as opposed to being blocked by a cupboard or something in the entrance foyer.
Separate toilet to the bathroom. Is that something you look for? Like, I think that's a bugbear amongst some people.
Yeah, a lot of people, absolutely. Yep, a lot of people mention that and go, oh, yeah, great, there's a separate toilet and those sort of things. But I think the general flow of a property balcony as well, if it's up high, a balcony is really important, I think. And if it's down low, it's obviously the courtyard area. So sense of space and light is really critical.
What do clients on average request the most? Is it light? Generally natural light?
Yeah, they always ask which way it faces. So, in terms of, yeah.
Is north-facing apartments something that developers actually try and build to or implement?
Yeah, they do, absolutely. They look at the block and where it's situated, and then they'll put apartments in that north-facing, or the aspect of the apartment in that north-facing area.
Guesty, thank you, mate.
No
You're a
worries,
star.
Mitch.
Third time on.
Thank you.
All
Not sure
good
there'll be a
things.
fourth, we'll see.
Don't say that. No, there'll be a fourth. Mate, thank you so much. Appreciate it as always, and always good to chat.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me again. Cheers, Mitch.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. I guess he was great once again. If you're looking for a home or you're purchasing property, Guesty or a buyer's agent can provide that value that you can't find yourself. So if you do need one, feel free to reach out. They can help you on your property journey. Thanks again.